It is my great honor and joy to introduce our baccalaureate keynote speaker, Christopher Schiff. Each year, the senior class votes through 2 rounds of voting on who they would like to most give them advice on the eve of commencement, and it is no surprise to me that Chris is the person they chose. Chris has been the music and arts librarian at Bates for over 20 years. He is not only a wealth of wisdom on how to research, structure, and write about the arts and much more, but also has a boundless, tender heart in helping students as they sift through challenging subject matter, which, as we all know, will also illuminate personal challenges that he accompanies students along in the process. To me, students have described Chris Schiff as a brainiac family member who helps them with thesis, a mythical wise wizard like Gandalf the Grey, effusive and empathetically excited about things almost no one gets excited about, and simply a really, really good listener. Thank you, Chris, for the gifts you have already given us and for the wisdom you will share in your baccalaureate address titled Drink the Wave.
Thank you, Bates Class of 2023, for inviting me to speak today. It seems only fitting that I greet you one more time from behind a wooden podium, as so many of our conversations and connections occurred over the wooden Ladd Library research desk. I'm certain that I met some of you there on your first day at Bates, and I can hardly think of a day since that I didn't learn something from you. The full list would take us all afternoon, but the range of topics we've covered together is mind-boggling. Everything from secret societies to sacred poetry to the genetics of the taste of cilantro. I have loved learning from you, and I loved even more those moments when you just stopped by to say hi or made sure to wave across the lobby even though you were rushing to another appointment. Imagine my awe when you taught me that deep and abiding friendship begins with EndNote software and vegan pad thai from Commons. And imagine my overwhelming joy when the Bates Sunshine Society gave me a circular card that reads, "You are holding this because you are loved." I've shed many happy tears over that. I know I was supposed to pass it on, but I kept it. I count myself among the luckiest people in the world to have shared in the 4 years of your Bates experience. It means everything to me to be able to stand here and say that I'm truly indebted to you. Over the last 4 years, you have paid me the greatest honor that I will ever be paid. You asked me for help when you needed it most, and you put your faith in me that I would help you find the right answer. That said, podium or no, I'm feeling a bit exposed. I thought I was done with college assignments years ago, so now this? Still, being a librarian, I dove into the research, and after extensive work, I can report that there are no databases that adequately address today's assignment. I can't simply type in a few keywords and have the perfect peer-reviewed article pop up to tell what comes next. Frankly, I wish there were such a database as I close in on 65 years of trying to figure out what I'm going to do when I grow up. I can really use the help. I've stopped overthinking it, though, and I instantly knew what I needed to say today. It's something that was said to me at my high school graduation in 1976, and that I've pondered many times in the intervening years. The student teacher from my high school soc class knew that I was into thinking big thoughts. So, as a graduation present, they gave me a copy of The Magus by John Fowles. Now, it's one of those books where there are a bunch of Easter egg quotations sprinkled throughout the text. Little Racine here, little T.S. Eliot there. For the most part, these quotations were not fully cited or sometimes even translated. So, and remember, this is pre-internet. The reader was sent off on a quest to find the source of the quotation and to decipher its meaning and importance to the story. As my teacher handed me the book, they sent me on just such a quest by asking, "Which do you drink, the water or the wave?" That's a funny question, isn't it? It's almost like a Zen koan. Which do you drink, the water or the wave? When I was first asked the question, no explanation was given. Only after I'd read most of the Magus did I realize that my teacher was reenacting one of the scenes from the book. These are the last words spoken between two of the main characters, and they are meant to be a final challenge from a mentor to a student. Which do you drink, the water or the wave? Now, one of the things that I appreciate about this question is that it is both easy and impossible to answer. It would seem simple enough. We know what water is, and we know that we need it, so easy. Hydrate. Drink the water. But, come on. The question is a bit more complicated than all that. For the purposes of the question, do we really know what water is? From a materialist perspective, perhaps, yes, water is a very simple chemical that makes up complex things like oceans, lakes, and rivers, and humans. But this is not a question of component amount or complexity or magnitude. We are not asked if we drink the ocean, the lake, or the river. We're asked if we drink the wave, and the wave isn't easily defined. The problem with thinking that we can choose to drink the wave is that we'll never know where the wave is until we're surrounded by it. It seems to be present in the same place as the water, but it doesn't have to be. And it might be composed primarily of water, but it doesn't have to be. In fact, the wave is a force, and while we often feel its physical effects, the way we know its presence best is through emotions. In 2019, when many of you first came to Bates, I suspect you thought getting an education was going to be like drinking water. Your arrival at this moment in 2023 would be sensible and predictable. Just like drinking your requisite 8 cups a day, you would take the prescribed number of requisite classes. Each class would be another glass of water in your Bates training program, and in the end, you would have a well-educated mind and a well-hydrated body. Those of you who know me best know that's how my education went. When my teacher asked me, "Which do you drink, the water or the wave?" I knew, without any hesitation, that I was going to drink the water. And I did. Well, so long as you ignore the year in the punk band and dancing in musical theater and the year on a good old-fashioned assembly line and the 7 or so years washing dishes, my progress to graduation was straight as an arrow. So what happened? Well, every time I reached for another metaphorical glass of water, that next step in my planned and logical college career, it was a mirage. It would recede into the distance, and instead, I would find myself facing chaotic turmoil, the metaphorical wave. Some of the components of my personal wave will undoubtedly sound familiar to the Bates class of 2023. Lack of money, lack of focus, the need to help family members, a changing world that didn't seem to value my contribution. I had it incredibly easy, and I don't say that ironically. I could attribute my chaos to the pressure and confusion of being a first-gen college student with no guidance. Still, I lived in a world where there were answers to some of the difficulties, the waves that I faced. My deadlines were flexible, so I could wait for my moment. I could call on family and friends for help when I was out of resources. The wave faced by you, class of 2023, has been everything I faced, plus a multitude of forces much more powerful than any I have ever experienced. Who could have imagined that 2 months into your second term, the entire concept of a college course would have changed permanently? That concerts, dances, and entire sports seasons would be canceled, that study abroad would suddenly disappear, and for international students, that a much-needed return home would have to be canceled because there was no guarantee that you'd be able to return to the United States, much less Bates College. Those sensible glasses of water that make up your Bates experience suddenly had to include testing, quarantining, and meetings via Zoom. With every change came emotional wave upon wave. Yes, those glasses of water were still there, but some of them came from an unknown and occasionally frightening source. In these 4 short years, you have been asked to learn the lesson that took me 9. The lesson that we ultimately all learn in life. The only answer to the challenge, which do you drink, the water or the wave, is that we drink both. We don't get to choose logical progression over chaos. Chaos and turmoil are always around us, nor for the risk takers amongst us do we get to choose chaos and turmoil alone. We have to drink the water. So now that I have clumsily belabored John Fowles' elegant metaphor, I ask you to take a breath and think of Baccalaureate, today's rite of passage, as a day at the beach, and that wonderful moment when the waves crest and begin to break all around us. Feel it? Amidst all of the chaos and turmoil that you've experienced in the last 4 years and will experience in the future, I hope the wave has brought you and will always bring you moments of exhilaration and overwhelming joy. Tomorrow at graduation, you'll feel the refreshing relief of that water that you've drunk in the last 4 years. Still, remember this feeling. The wave is and will be here for you. And it is the wave that brings water alive. Drink the wave.